Alright, what is going on, everybody? You see a Jaguar here, and I'm here with my boy JetsCentral. What's going on, my man?
Nothing much, man. Ready to do these videos. Happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Oh, yeah. Alright, so a few months ago, we got together before the season started, and we did a playoff prediction type of video. So what we're going to do is, now that we're like halfway through the season, we're going to basically go back through and kind of discuss who we had and what it's looking like is going to basically be in that spot in the playoffs. So you ready for this, man?
Yeah, man, let's get right into it.
Yeah, and if you want to watch the original video, I'll actually put a link to that below. So if you want to see how dumb we sound on some of these, how wrong we are on a lot of them, you can go ahead and do that. But we're gonna start off with the AFC. So who did you originally have winning the AFC West?
For the West, I had the Denver Broncos, right? I thought the defense was going to come to play. You know, Hakeem Talib, they have a lot of great players on the Denver Bronco defense. You know, I really thought that they could just manage the game with Simeon. I thought that Simeon could kind of just come in, you know, I guess just grow a little bit as a quarterback. I didn't think he would just get worse. I thought he was going to kind of take that next step. Denver overall, I mean, I didn't really like the Vance Joseph hire, but I still thought, you know, they had enough players to kind of make that playoff push and win the division. What about you?
Well, we were both dead wrong on this because I was going with all the hype. I was going with the Raiders. I mean, you saw them last year have a bunch of preseason hype and that kind of stuff, and they lived up to it. You know what I mean? They went to the playoffs. I believe they were 9-7, 10-6, and then you look at them this year. You know, I saw Derek Carr. You know, they had a franchise quarterback. They extended him a lot. They added all kinds of pieces. You know, Garen Conley through the draft. They also had Marshawn Lynch, and it just really looked like when you looked at their team, they were only going to get better. But for whatever reason, they just stumbled a little bit. And really, when you look at the AFC West, I mean, it's got to be the Chiefs, in my opinion, to win.
Yeah, the Chiefs have been killing it this year, dude. Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, Kelsey. I mean, dude, the Kansas City Chiefs are sick this season.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely started off hot. They were the last team to finish to be not undefeated kind of thing. But they kind of tailed off a little bit though. I mean, they started off really hot. Now they're 6-3. So they're kind of in a downward trend, but I still think they're gonna get it.
Yeah,
going.
Right, Alex Smith has been playing, I think, at an MVP caliber level. I mean, if he's not first, he's probably top 3. You know, probably other than Wentz.
Yeah, I definitely. So, he's playing out of his mind. A lot of people thought before the season, what they're gonna do with Alex Smith is kind of let him play a little bit, and maybe after 5, 6, 7 games, they're gonna put in the rookie because that's what it seems like every quarterback does. But the thing is, Alex Smith is playing so well. How can you replace him? And a lot of people see, okay, Alex Smith, this is going to be his last year on a team. Mahomes is going to take over next year. But if Alex Smith keeps playing at this level, he is under contract next year, and they're probably not. I don't think they're going to, let him sit if he's playing at the level that he's playing at. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, he'd be a good fit for the Jags. Not turn the ball over, run around a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's who I was wanting before the season, but I've tampered that a little bit just because since he's playing so well. Yeah. I just don't see the Chiefs want to get rid of him. You know what I mean? So
it's gonna be tough, man, because it's with the whole thing with Andy Reid, it's does he want to move forward with the new guy, if he's ready? But Alex Smith has been dominating, and if they go far in the playoffs, is it do you want to scrap that or risk throwing it all away? So I don't know. Could be crazy. Yeah,
it'll be interesting. Just Mahomes is definitely one of those guys that needs a little bit of time to sit.
Yeah, for sure.
But if he's, you see teams the Aaron Rodgers with the. With the Packers, I mean, they're not, these teams will sit players that their starting quarterback's already doing well. So, you see it also with Garoppolo, obviously. They're not going to bench Tom Brady, but I'm not trying to compare Alex Smith to any of those guys. But we'll move on. The AFC South. Who did you originally have winning the AFC South?
I had the Texans. I thought the Texans were probably going to be a top 5 defense, being that they were the #1 defense last year. I thought Watson or Savage, they were going to come in and just kind of be able to not really put up 40 points a game or really just outscore opponents, but just kind of manage the game, not throw interceptions and stuff, and just kind of let their defense, kind of like with Denver, I was alluding to with Denver, but just let the defense do the work. I mean, of course, I didn't really foresee Deshaun Watson going down with that ACL injury, and he looked a lot better than I thought. I thought Deshaun Watson looked pretty damn good.
I mean,
but yeah.
I mean, it's just interesting with the Texans because they went through almost 2 waves of injuries. You know what I mean? First, J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless get season-ending injuries in the same exact game, and then everyone was like, all right, they're done. And then their defense was pretty terrible after that. But what kept them in it was Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
He was playing at a, offensive rookie of the year level. And if he kept up that play, he was playing at an MVP level. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't really any quarterback that was putting up better numbers than him. But after Deshaun Watson tore his ACL, they were bad on defense. Tom Savage is not a very good quarterback.
No.
I mean, he's not going to be able to go in there and put up the same numbers. And, the Texans, they got to kind of put an asterisk by that pick just because, if it wasn't for injuries, who knows, like, how far they could have gone. But, with that Deshaun Watson injury, that put the nail in the coffin for sure.
Yeah, I always want to give, like, the quarterbacks, like, or the younger quarterbacks, like, the benefit of the doubt. Kind of, it's just kind of annoying, like, to see, like, young quarterbacks show, like, flashes and then, like, struggle or, like, regress. So, I don't know. I had the Texans win it, but that's definitely not going to happen this year.
Yeah, and with the AFC South, my very unbiased pick, I don't see things through a biased window. I had the Jacksonville Jaguars winning, and I really think that the Jaguars will win this one. I mean, the way it's looking, you saw the Titans kind of get whooped by the Steelers last Thursday night, and both these teams have, like, pretty easy schedules coming up, but I just think the Jaguars with that defense can lead this team far, and I think it's definitely going to get them the division title. It's just the whole question is how far can the defense take them in the playoffs, because the Jaguars, they have a good defense. They have a really good running game, but one thing that happens in the playoffs is you're going to have a quarterback that plays pretty spectacular to be able to lead you far. So my thing is I really think the Jaguars win the AFC South. Just the big question is how far can they go in the playoffs? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this year's Jaguars team actually reminds me a lot of the 2009 Jets team, when it's like play great defense and just run the ball with Thomas Jones and these guys, Sean Green, LT, that whole crew. It's just like really similar, just basically just say Mark Sanchez, don't turn the ball over, and for the most part he did that, at least in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they remind me kind of the 2015 Broncos, where the defense was so outstanding, but that year it was Peyton Manning in his 18th and last season, and they had Brock Osweiler playing, and none of those players played well. Like, Peyton Manning was not his normal self that year. He even admitted himself in the ESPYs that the defense carried him. But that defense, man, Von Miller, they had him, like, wreaking havoc in there, like Malik Jackson, obviously, like, Aqib Talib, like Harris out there at the cornerbacks, and they just had a stacked defense, and that's really what led them to that ass whooping in the Super Bowl, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Wade Phillips, crazy. Who'd you have winning the North?
The AFC North, I actually had the Steelers winning that one. That's what it's going to be looking like now, just Steelers. I mean, who's going to compete? The Ravens? The Bengals? I think the Bengals and the Browns. The Browns, they're out of it. The Bengals, I don't see them taking over. The Ravens, they're kind of one of those teams that's in that wild card hunt that might make it, even though they're not really that good. Like the AFC... the AFC wildcard race isn't that good right now, but we'll get to that later. I just had the Steelers winning.
Yeah,
how about yourself?
Yeah, I had Pittsburgh too winning. I mean, too much talent on offense. Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant, Smith-Schuster. You could go down the list of all the Pittsburgh players. So much talent, and it's like I just can't see them not winning the division, if that makes sense. Especially with Cleveland, I hate to say it, but it's like 2 automatic wins.
Yeah.
Baltimore always plays them tough, and so does Cincinnati, but typically Pittsburgh always kind of gets the leg up, so I had the Steelers winning.
Yeah, I definitely think the same.
The
question with the Steelers right now is this been Roethlisberger's last year? I definitely think it is.
I think it is too, yeah.
I honestly just think he's so tired of the personalities that are on the team. I think he gets annoyed by Antonio Brown wanting this amount of catches. Martavis Bryant is obviously out there, pouting, he was wanting to get traded. I don't know how much of a talker like Le'Veon Bell is, but it's just, the pressure in Pittsburgh. I don't know if he really has a love for the game anymore. He already has 2 Super Bowl rings. Does he have an MVP award? I'm not
too sure.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He probably does, but I'm not gonna say for sure. But I think that he's accomplished everything he's wanted to accomplish. He's obviously getting older. I just think some of the football frustrations will kind of get to him. And I have the Steelers winning the North, so we'll move on. Who did you have winning the Jets division, the AFC East?
Oh my God, I hate saying it, but I had the Patriots. I didn't think Miami was going to be that good, honestly. The Jets tanking rumors, so they pretty much had. I don't want to say they had like a big chance to win the division. It sucks saying it, but it's true. And then the Buffalo Bills, I thought, could maybe challenge them. And, I still think they can maybe challenge them down the stretch. But benching Tyrod Taylor, I think that kind of put the nail in the coffin as far as the AFC East goes. And I had the Patriots winning, and it's looking like, once again, they're going to win the East.
Yeah, I mean, every year this is probably the easiest prediction. I mean, the Patriots, as long as they have Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, it's really hard to think that they're going to have any more than 4 losses. And before the season started, it was really looking like the best Patriots team in so long. I mean, they went, there were people projecting them to go 16-0. But, yeah, I mean, I had the Patriots winning. It really wasn't too hard of like a choice for me.
Yeah.
No offense to your Jets.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Because, like, when the Chiefs won, like, on that opening Thursday night game, I'm thinking to myself, like, yes, this is, hopefully this is, like, where Tom Brady and Belichick start, like, tailing off. But, I was pumped when they traded Jimmy G. Like, that's one good thing from, like, a Jets fan's perspective, from, as far as the Patriots winning all these games this season. So, that's one good thing at least.
Yeah, I mean, with the Patriots, it'll be interesting just to see what happens after Tom Brady's gone, just because, I mean, everyone looks at Bill Belichick as this offensive genius, or not offensive, but just football genius, but he's made some really questionable, like, roster moves, like, basically, like, letting go of, like, Jamie Collins, like, Chandler Jones. He also let go of their old cornerback. I can't forget his name at this point. He went to, I believe, the Bills. Sorry, I can't forget. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not coming to me either.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean,
Jacoby Brissett for Philip Dorsett, who they haven't even used at all.
Yeah, Phil Dorsett hasn't been used at all. It's just
and Brissett has looked really damn good for Indy.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been. I don't know. It's just interesting with them because it almost seems like maybe they wanted to, like Bill Belichick wanted to keep Garoppolo, but there's rumors that the owner might have wanted it to happen. So he's like, look, we're not going to re-sign Garoppolo, so go ahead and get what you can out of him. Yeah. Obviously, they could have gotten a lot more for him before the season. There were rumors that, basically Browns wanted to give away a first-round pick, but, I really think with this whole thing, I don't think Bill Belichick wanted to trade him to the Browns just because I don't think he has much confidence in what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird because, like, I remember on draft night, Cleveland, like, offering, or, like, there's rumors of them offering their second first-rounder to New England, and they're like, no, we think we could get more.
Yeah.
Turns out, I mean, they can only get a second for him from the Niners. So, I mean, I guess it worked out in the Niners' favor, but, he's one of those guys that we haven't really seen him play. So, It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, he technically traded a second rounder for him, but they're getting first round value because that's going to be a top 40 draft pick. You know what I mean? It's going to be, the draft pick's going to be somewhere between, like 33 to like 36 range,
Probably, yeah, I was gonna say it very well has the chance to be like the first pick in the second round.
Yeah. So I mean, they're gonna get a first round value out of that. So we'll see who they take with that one. So we're gonna go ahead and go into the wild cards. Now this is a little sketchy, but who is like one of your wild card teams?
I thought Oakland. I really thought Oakland had the roster to kind of make the playoffs, but I just didn't think that they were going to be like the dominant team that they were last season. I thought they were still good enough to make the playoffs with Cooper and Crabtree and Carr and these guys. I just feel like, they almost invited too many people to the party with like Garyon Conley and his like off the field troubles, and then like Marshawn Lynch. It's almost like kind of like the magic almost wore out a little bit, if that makes sense. But I still thought the Raiders were good enough to make the playoffs. But I mean, of course they still can. Like, I'm not ruling them out. They still can. I mean, I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, the AFC wildcard race is really, really weak right now. I mean, you have like right now in the picture, you basically have the Titans and like Bills in there if the season ended today. But I mean, you also look around. You have like the Ravens trying to contend. You have other teams out there like there's other, Oakland's obviously in the race. But I mean, you have these teams that are like 500 and below that are trying to like scrap for that, and it's just really like weak right now. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just no, like the wild card race is just not very good in the AFC right now.
Yeah, and I guess it works for the in the Raiders' favor because the AFC is so weak right now.
Yeah, I mean they're very much alive right now.
Yeah, that's the good thing, as far as them trying to make the playoffs.
Yes, but one of my teams, I actually had the Chargers going, and I mean I think the Chargers are a good team, but what really screwed them over was they went 0-4 to start the year. You know what I mean? Like, and then they won like 3 in a row. Their defense was getting it together. Then they go ahead and lose to the Patriots and then the Jaguars. 2 pretty good teams, but they really just started off too slow going off to that 0-4 start. But
injuries killed them too.
Yeah,
Mike Williams and stuff.
Yeah, Mike Williams. They had the first 2-round picks injured, Mike Williams and with Forrest Lamp, the guard that they drafted in the second round. So, they were kind of like injury bugged. They got it going a little too late. They have a really good defense. Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram over there, like on the edges. Those are probably the best two, like the best duo of defensive ends in the league, I think. So, their defense is really nasty. But not only did I have the Chargers going, I also had the Ravens going. Now, the Ravens are very much alive, but I thought they'd just be a little bit better this year. I mean, they seem like a team that kind of puts it on like every other year. But, I just saw a team that they have a history with winning. You know what I mean? Like, John Harbaugh knows how to win. I thought Joe Flacco would play a lot better. I thought with the additions of the guys like, Tony Jefferson on the defense, Brandon Williams is a really good piece on the interior of the offensive line. I just thought, with drafting, even Tyus Bowser's pretty well, but I just thought that they'd be a lot better than they are. But they've been kind of a little disappointing, even though they still are one of those mediocre teams in that playoff hunt.
Yeah, I feel like the Ravens are always picking like anywhere from like 10 to 20. Like they're there every year, no matter really what they do. As far as personnel wise.
It just seems like every other year they're getting in with a wild card kind of spot.
Yeah, they're never like dominating. Like they never have like that 14-win season, but they're never like. They're always finishing with like 7 or 6 wins, like somewhere in that range.
Yeah, exactly.
6 or more wins, I should say.
But who's your other
oh, man. Team? So my second wildcard team was the Cincinnati Bengals, right? I bought in, right? I can't, there's no really way around it.
That was a worse pick than my AFC North pick.
I know, right? But it's like, I was just looking at the offensive talent. Like, A.J. Green, they just drafted John Ross. They just drafted Joe Mixon. They had Jeremy Hill, who's like he's a solid NFL back. And Tyler Eifert too. And then I was thinking maybe Dalton puts it all together this season. Just like, I'm not saying he goes out and wins MVP, but just really just has a solid season, almost like a Derek Carr last season.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. They have a lot of good players on defense too. I think it's pretty safe to say that this is Marvin Lewis's last year. Even though I feel like I say that every year.
But this year, like, it's just their way of their performing. They got to get somebody new to come in there and kind of bring a new culture. You saw them going to the playoffs every year. Basically losing in the first round. But last year was like one of their first years missing. So it looks like they're going to miss again. Like, Marvin Lewis is, I believe, the longest tenured head coach right now. He's been a coach longer than Bill Belichick, I think.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, so, he's just been there for so long. He's just such a, he just seems like he doesn't have much like energy or juice. They need to get another guy to come in there and bring some kind of energy to the team, kind of like Sean McVay did for the Rams. You know what I mean? Like Jeff Fisher, Joe Average over there, Mr. 8-8. Just like he just didn't bring much energy, but they bring a new kind of young, upbeat kind of guy in there, then they do just a lot better.
Yeah, and the crazy thing that revolves around the Bengals is like, if they do get a new coach in, like I feel like this team can like make the playoffs like that. Yeah. Because they have so much talent, like a top 5 wideout, really good running backs, and they just have like a nice like infusion of like veterans and young players.
Yeah, they have a good defense as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think one thing with their team that really held them back was they were investing too much in skill positions and were kind of, not looking at their offensive line. They let their left tackle walk in free agency. They let, the right guard, Zeitler, walk on to the Browns, but then you see their first 2-round picks, they go, John Ross, and then they get Mixon.
Yeah.
So, I'm a firm believer that this game is like start and ends in the trenches. I think, your offensive and defensive line, that's where the game starts. Then, with the offensive line, that's what's going to open up the holes for the running backs. That's what's going to protect your quarterback. On the defensive line, they start, run plays start right there and pass plays start right there with their ability to either get to the quarterback or stop the run. And then I just think that, they didn't look at that enough. So I think that's what really hurt them.
They definitely ignored it. Their mindset was kind of, whatever, why should we go and spend all this money on the O-line when we can go spend it on like skill positions and whatnot?
Yeah. All right. And then that pretty much wraps up, the AFC for us. Those were kind of our picks. Now we're going to move on to the NFC. So we're going to start on the east side of town in the Eastern Standard Time Zone. We're going to start with the NFC East. Who did you have winning the NFC East?
I had the Eagles winning the NFC East, and I'm pretty confident that that's probably going to come true. I know they have a big divisional game against Dallas this Sunday night, but overall, Doug Peterson dominated. Carson Wentz looking like an MVP. Nice additions with Alshon Jeffrey, Torrey Smith, Nelson Aguilar has really, kind of been that receiver that everyone kind of wanted him to be. Overall, I like the Eagles. I think I'm kind of, I think I'm right on this pick.
Yeah, I had the same pick. I had the Eagles. I was really high on the Eagles going into the year. And like I said earlier I really think the game of football starts and ends in the trenches, and they were just so good on the offensive line. Now, granted, they had Peters get injured, which really hurt the offensive line, but they're still getting things done there. Their defensive line, with the addition of Derek Barnett, I thought that was really good, and they have some good players like not Derek Cox, but like Fletcher Cox up in the interior, and they just had a good defensive line and good offensive line, and then you just have good skill positions too. You know what I'm saying? I was a little worried about their cornerback spot on the defense, but it seems like that's holding up pretty well. Their offense, Carson Wentz, great quarterback.
They're making trades too. Like they got Ronald Darby. I mean, I know he's been hurt recently, but he's going to come in and be a nice piece. And then they got Jay Ajayi too. Yeah. So like Philly's really going on the up and up.
Yeah, I mean Philly's they only have one loss this year. They're looking at this point like the best team in the NFL, but with the play, I'm not gonna with the playoffs and Super Bowl, all that kind of stuff. It's all about when you're hot. You know what I mean? Like there's gonna be a team that all of a sudden in the at the week 16, week 17 is gonna get hot, and all of a sudden they're gonna carry it into the playoffs, and that's what's really gonna help them. So we're gonna have to wait off to kind of see what's going on there. So I mean, we both had the Eagles winning the East, and it's looking like both those predictions are going to be right. So we're going to move on to the NFC West. I had the Seahawks winning this one just because I looked around at the division and I thought they were going to be the only good team in that division. Although now the Rams are making a huge push. The Rams have been one of the more surprising teams of this year, really coming out of nowhere. I mean, not many people had faith, and Jared Goff. Todd Gurley was all talking about how they were like running like a middle school kind of offense, and like that might have been what's really holding them back, because Sean McVay came over there and then just really transformed their offense. Todd Gurley's having a great year. Jared Goff's playing really, really well. He's really looking like the #1 overall pick that they got. Their defense is playing really well. But not talking about the Rams, but we'll go back to Seahawks. But Seahawks are just they're a good team. They've established a winning culture over there, and they're going to be a team that, as long as they have Russell Wilson, they're going to be in at least a decent defense. I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. Yeah,
for sure. I had the Seahawks winning too. It's pretty safe to say that everyone thought that the Niners were they had no chance. And then it kind of you look at the Cardinals, and Carson Palmer, like you can't really buy into him. He's kind of old and stuff like that, and Arizona is just like you could tell they're on the downward.
Yeah, they lost both Calais Campbell and Tony Jefferson in free agency, and that's really hurt their defense a lot. And then their quarterbacks, they're just old quarterbacks, and
I thought the Rams would be better. I definitely didn't think they'd be this good, but
they're like 7-2 right now.
I know, dude. Nuts. It's crazy. It's crazy what the Rams have really been putting together.
Even if they would be like 5-4, it'd be like, oh look, they're playing pretty well. But 7-2 is a damn good record.
That's where I thought they would be like 5-4, maybe even like 6-3. But I think 7 wins, that's crazy. But I had the Seahawks. It is kind of a safe pick, but I thought that defense basically getting 2 automatic wins against the Niners. You can arguably say, 2 automatic against Arizona. That's 4 wins right off the bat. They play great at home. Russell Wilson has kind of, been consistent recently. I thought Seattle was going to win that division. Yeah, it's looking pretty, like either them or LA.
Yeah, I think them and LA are going to go to the playoffs. It's just
I don't know, because Sherman and Chancellor just went down.
They're down now. Then
so maybe this pick might be wrong.
Yeah, literally the identity of the Seahawks the last half decade has pretty much been the LOB, their secondary. They got like Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman back there. They all just kind of control that defense, and then with them out, that's huge hits. Sherman was a huge hit. Now Cam Chancellor's out. That's going to hurt them, no doubt.
Yep.
But yeah, both of us had the Seahawks. Looks like the Rams going to make a hard push for that. So we'll move on to the NFC South. The NFC South was a weird division. Everyone thought it was going to be between the Falcons, the Buccaneers, and the Panthers. And then the Saints were going to be that lonely team that's kind of left out of it. But it's really been kind of flipped. But my preseason prediction for the NFC South was the Falcons. I looked at their team and they got, they didn't lose much personnel. They only got better personnel-wise, but I didn't really take into account the only variable, and that was that Kyle Shanahan left, and then they just haven't been the same since he left. And it's just I never seen in the NFL such an impact made from like a coordinator leaving. It's just crazy. I mean, I thought with the talent that they had on that team, you saw like a couple years, like the year before Matt Ryan had his MVP year last year, their offense just didn't fit him very well.
Yeah.
Then once they changed it up, they saw Matt Ryan and the whole team play better, and I thought that they're going to use that same blueprint that helped them play so well. And then they're just looking, they're such a 500 team right now, and they're just not looking like that team that made that playoff push into the Super Bowl last year. But I had the Falcons winning the NFC South, so that's definitely wrong.
Yeah, Atlanta, it just seems like they play or they're mentally weak or something this season. Like they can't really stomp teams. I mean, I know they just dominated Dallas this past week, but like overall, Atlanta, they kind of just like hang around. They don't really put teams away like they were doing last year. Because last year, they were putting up like 40 a game, just like killing everybody.
Yeah.
But no, I had the Carolina Panthers winning the NFC South. I thought Cam Newton, typically he kind of comes back like after a bad season. He kind of like resurrects himself and performs really well, and I think he's doing that this year. I mean, the Panthers have a chance.
Yeah.
But I would have to say that the Saints probably have the biggest chance to win this division. Nobody really saw this coming from New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean the Saints. I definitely think that they had the best shot at winning. I mean they were on like an 8-game win streak or something like that. I mean
yeah, because it's just weird because nobody really thought that the Saints were just going to basically just go from this like all out aerial attack to this like run heavy thing with like Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. And play like this awesome defense all of a sudden. It's crazy what like a few players on defense can like do, like younger players, like because they drafted Lattimore and Marcus Williams, and both of those guys have been like almost like they shocked the Saints defense like back to life a little bit, and like they just completely changed their offense with that great quarterback in Drew Brees. So it's really crazy to see what's going on in New Orleans.
Well, I mean it's just crazy the way they use their running backs is they have Mark Ingram out there who's really just being that guy who punishes you like. Pounds players. He's just a really physical player, and then you have a guy like Kamara to complement him, and he's more of like a speed kind of guy,
yeah.
like getting to places quick. And then when a defense is in a situation where they have a player that's just like bruising them down, like in the run game, and then you switch out with a speed guy, it just wears out a defense, and that's what they're doing. And combined with that, they're playing really really good defense. You know what I mean? And then just this whole NFC South, it was really just flipped upside down from what you thought. You thought the Bucs and the Panthers were going to be at the top of the division. Those guys are below, and then you thought the Saints and potentially the Panthers. I mean, you went on a limb and saying that the Panthers were going to go there because they finished 5-11 last year. You know what I mean? So they're at the top of the NFC South, and then the Falcons and Bucs are at the bottom. And I know, speaking for myself, that's literally flipped from what I thought would happen.
Yeah, Carolina. I thought Carolina was going to be. They were going to do like a lot of trickery, a lot of like read option, kind of go back to what Cam has been good at, just like letting him just do him. Instead of trying to like change the offense to try to protect Cam Newton, just basically say you go out there, you do you go and try to figure out, how are you gonna, how did you win MVP? Like go back to doing that, and then you take Christian McCaffrey, Curtis Samuel in the draft, two like versatile types of players that you could hand the ball off or hand the ball off to or throw to. So, that's kind of my thinking behind the whole Carolina pick. Who'd you have winning the North? Oh, sorry.
Well, like it's just interesting with the Panthers because like I think they're still trying to figure out like who they are. I mean, their offense has changed like crazy. You know what I mean? First of all, Greg Olsen got put on the IR. He's going to come back soon, but that's something they didn't envision, and he's always been a big part of their offense. Kelvin Benjamin, he got traded away, and it's not like that's something that they were really planning on doing, but Bills reached out and basically said, are you down to trade? And they're like, yeah, I mean, throw us like kind of an offer that we might want. And then, Christian McCaffrey, he's been really like switching up his role a lot. I mean, now he's more of like, I think he could potentially move to like, slot and play kind of like a Wes Welker kind of thing. But, he started off kind of slow, but he's definitely been doing a lot better these last few weeks now that they're kind of figuring out how to use him. But the Panthers are a team that they could potentially make like a big run toward the end of the season, once they really figure out like who they want to be on offense.
Yeah, if they don't win the division, I could definitely see them getting the wild card.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to the NFC North, and I picked the Packers to win. Now you can almost put an asterisk by that because if you were going to tell me that Brett Hundley was going to be their quarterback, midway through the season, I would not have picked them just because Rodgers is the kind of player that he just makes the talent around him play a lot better. I mean, you see Packers now, and they're just not a good team. You know what I mean? Without Aaron Rodgers to really pull that stuff together, they're not the same team. But yeah, I mean, I had the Packers winning. Looks like that's not going to happen. But who'd you have winning?
No, I had Green Bay too. You know, I basically agree with everything you just said. I thought the defense was going to play better with like Kevin King and these guys, but overall, if I would have known that Brett Hundley would have went down and like Case Keenum would be playing at like a normal NFL or like a franchise quarterback, like probably I probably would have picked Minnesota. But looking back on it, I still think if Rodgers was completely healthy, I still think that Green Bay could have won this division.
Yeah, I mean, I think them and the Vikings would have really pushed each other, and I think they could have prevailed just because the quarterback's better. But I mean, Case Keenum has been playing. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. He's been playing really well, but there's only one Aaron Rodgers out there in the NFL, and him and Brady are probably the best quarterbacks out there. I mean, I'm not trying to put guys like Carson Wentz really in that conversation yet because he hasn't done it consistently, obviously, because he's so young. So Aaron Rodgers is just a quarterback in his own league. But with the NFC North, I mean, it's got to be Vikings or bust. I mean, Detroit. They have the kind of talent to do it, but I don't think they're gonna. I mean, they could push for a wild card.
I know they have a really easy schedule coming up.
Oh yeah.
So they can stack together a few easy wins. They're very capable of winning this, winning the North. I think it's gonna come down to Minnesota or Detroit. I think Chicago is easily out of it, and then Green Bay. I just can't buy into Hundley and just him taking them to the playoffs. I can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I could even potentially see the Packers finish fourth. I mean, the Bears. I mean, the Bears are finding some ways to win. This wasn't a year where the Bears necessarily expecting them to go to playoffs. It's more of a developmental kind of year. But they've been able to squeak out some good wins. I mean, they beat the Pittsburghs at home. They play really well at home. When you're a team, they have a good defense. They have a pretty decent running game. So I mean, they just have to avoid their own mental errors, which has made them lose a few of their games. So that's about kind of wraps up the NFC North. Now we'll go to the wild card spot. I originally had the Cowboys winning the, getting a wild card spot. I saw they finished last year with a 13-3, 12-4 record. Ezekiel Elliott, I thought he kind of be playing more. So, Dak Prescott and everything. And I just thought that Dallas would be able to get a wild card spot, and that could very well still be alive for them.
Yeah. I honestly believe that Dallas will be a wild card team when it's all kind of said and done, because Philly, I really think that they're going to win the division. Dallas, they play well, but they're not amazing. They don't dominate people or dominate teams. So I don't know. I like that prediction for Cowboys.
Yeah,
getting that wild card.
Yeah, I got the Cowboys. But who's one of your predictions?
Both wild card predictions. Both are horrible. I had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for one of them. Tons of offensive talent. I really really bought into Jameis Winston, and that whole offensive personnel-wise. On paper, this is one of the best offenses in the league. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Deshaun Jackson, O.J. Howard, Doug Martin, those are great players, great skill position players. I bought in, I thought Mike Smith, the D coordinator over in Tampa, is really going to have the defense kind of playing like they were down the stretch of last year. But they just kind of been, anybody can really throw on Tampa, except for McCown, of course. But, Tampa Bay, it's just what is going on with the Bucs? I have no idea what's going wrong there.
Dude, yeah, I mean, I had the Bucs getting the wild card too, and I just looked at them, same thing as you. I mean, you look at all that talent on the offense. You look at Jameis Winston, hopefully going to be able to take that next step. And then you saw a pretty good defense. And then I really think one thing with them is they really got hurt by what the public perceived them as. They had a lot of hype going into this year. I mean, they were
they were on Hard Knocks too.
Yeah, they were a trendy Super Bowl pick. They were on Hard Knocks, and one thing I noticed from Hard Knocks that I did not like is I thought their culture was just way too laid back. I mean, they were kind of out there fooling around. They had ping pong tables up in the locker room. They just seemed so chill, laid back, and they just seemed like they were so cocky in the preseason, in the Hard Knocks. It was they were more cocky than they were confident. And then I just really thought that, when you see these players, I mean, they read into what they perceive them as, and they were already being penciled in as, a team that was going to be in the NFC Championship game, and then it's gone terrible for them. I mean, Jameis Winston has been either playing bad or injured. Deshaun Jackson has been a little bit of bust when it comes to like a free agent signing, and they're just not playing together as a team. Their defense is bad, and it's really disappointing to see this happen to the Bucks, as you thought they were going to be that team to really take the next step.
Yeah, so my second wild card probably it's probably the worst out of all of our picks combined. I had the New York Giants getting at least one of the wild cards, thinking that they made the playoffs last season. They have so many good players on defense and on offense. Really, I just wasn't expecting like Ben McAdoo and like them to, I guess, just abandon the whole run game. Like they didn't really do anything to this offensive line. They got Brandon Marshall in the building. He's been somewhat of like a locker room cancer. Odell Beckham goes down, but I still think even if Beckham was there, like I don't foresee them making the playoffs.
Yeah.
But either way, like there's really no way to sugarcoat it. But this was just a horrible pick. But on paper, I think the Giants are a playoff team. But it's just like when it comes to like X's and O's and like actually going out there and executing, it's like they can't do it. So bad pick.
Yeah, I mean, when I looked at the Giants before the season, I thought. I thought they had a lot of talent. I thought they had a good defense. They had, good receiving weapons out there with, OBJ. They added Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard. They had all those kind of players. But I was just worried about their run game. Their offensive line sucked. We all saw their offensive line not very good, so I was worried about potentially pass protection. And I was worried about the run game. I think if you're a good team, you have to have a good run game. And then they didn't have like any, running backs that really scared me. Eli Manning throws a lot of picks. I didn't think he'd be a quarterback that would really be able to overcome not having a good run game. And then their offensive line is what got me to sway away from really buying into what they had to offer. But one thing about them is their coach Ben McAdoo is awful. The players aren't playing inspired at all under him. There's all talks about these players just quitting on him, and it's just amazing once Tom Coughlin left there how much their culture has changed, because they were so tight knit and all that stuff, and now there's reports players just not even listening to their head coach.
Yeah, no, there's been anonymous reports saying that they don't want him there this season, and they're they're not even really buying into the system anymore. I know Landon Collins, the safety over for New York. He actually, I guess, went on the record and said that McAdoo needs to return next season, which I think is kind of, I guess he's being that leader, but I just still think that's a crazy thing to say,
Yeah, if you just listen to his press conferences, it's just so bad. It's just he just sounds like he doesn't know what he's doing. He just comes up there. I don't, him with his slick back hair, looking all
what the hell,
looking like
man?
The neighborhood creeper.
God.
But it's been it's a bad situation over there in New York, and it'll really be interesting to see. I don't know if they're gonna have to go through a rebuild, because I do think they still have some good weapons, especially on their defense. But it'll be interesting to see how they handle a guy OBJ, see if they re-sign him, or see if they try to do kind of, because I don't think Brandon Marshall's gonna be back. It'll be interesting to see if they try to revamp their whole offense, and if they're going to try to cut ties with some of the expensive pieces that they do have on the defense, because they spent a lot of money in the 2016 offseason to bring in guys Olivier Vernon, bringing guys Janoris Jenkins, really to build up that
Damon
defense.
Harrison too. He's on another big deal. So
that'll definitely be an interesting storyline to really follow this offseason. But we're going to end it off with the Super Bowl. Before the season, I never write yours down, but before the season, I projected basically the Patriots to play the Falcons. I thought it was going to be a Super Bowl rematch, just because the Patriots, they looked even better on paper than they did last year. The Falcons, I looked at them on paper and they only got better, and I didn't know that losing Kyle Shanahan was going to have this kind of impact, and it looks like they're going through some kind of Super Bowl hangover. But I originally had the Patriots playing the Falcons.
I had the Steelers, because I remember it. I had the Steelers going up against Green Bay. Obviously, Green Bay won't make it. I don't think there's really a chance in hell that Brett Hundley can lead Green Bay to the Super Bowl. I don't see that happening. Pittsburgh might, they can get there. I know your Jags got a nice win over them. They could have set a blueprint or something, but Pittsburgh, they definitely have the firepower on offense to make a Super Bowl run. But and I mean, I guess on top of that too, the AFC is like pretty weak this year too. Like it's not like they're gonna have to like go through like jump through hoops to make the Super Bowl. So they can very well make it. It's just a matter of getting past New England and Kansas City. So
yeah, I mean, it's just interesting to see. I mean, it seems like if you're gonna put like I don't know if you can really put any teams into that like elite category like in the AFC. I mean, you can honestly put the Patriots kind of there by default just because they'll always be the Patriots in the postseason. The Steelers, like we'll see about them. I mean, but I mean, if I'm gonna speak about my Jaguars personally, like I think the Jaguars match up really well against like the Patriots and the Steelers, just with the way like their offenses and the way the Jaguars defense like matches up against them in like the passing game. So I mean, you can you also the Chiefs like threatening to get in there. The AFC wildcard picture. I think the Titans might get in there, but that 6th spot. I mean, you have like the Bills that could get it. You have like the Raiders, like the Ravens. That spot's really like up for grabs. But really like in the AFC, like when it comes to like representing the Super Bowl, I see like really the Chiefs, Patriots, Steelers, and like really the Jaguars to be able to like potentially like get, as weird as it is to say, like I mean you have like these teams with like great defenses really lead teams like into the Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens with like the AFC side of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's weird with the Jaguars because it's like the Patriots and the Steelers, like they can like out scheme you like or out coach you. But the thing was with the Jags is like they can like just outman you or like they like you can't really like if you just hand the ball off to Fournette and just like pound them into the dirt and just play great defense, like the Jags can very well win. Like you can't really game plan for like just Jaguars coming to play and just like kind of beating you down, being stronger and faster than like New England and stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's hard for me to even say Jaguars in Super Bowl just because I think the Jaguars have the NFL's best defense. They have a really, really good run game, but they have a really questionable quarterback, and they really don't have a number 1 wide receiver to get the ball to. And, if you're a mediocre quarterback, I think you really need that guy. I mean, Al Robinson, that was a huge piece that, like, the Jaguars, don't have. And, Blake Bortles really yet to see him, have a team down 4 with 2 minutes left. Have a game where he's down 4, 2 minutes left, and be able to put the team on his back and, put the team in the end zone to win it. So it's really hard just because of the quarterback situation there. But, like you saw with 2015 Broncos, you know what I mean? Like their defense was outstanding, but their quarterbacks, Peyton Manning and Osweiler, they sucked that year. I mean, they just weren't. It wasn't the same Peyton Manning. Osweiler is Osweiler, and that defense is what led them into the Super Bowl.
I agree completely.
But yeah, I mean, but unlike the NFC side, the NFC when it comes to the Super Bowl, it's like a crazy conversation just because it's a lot better. You have teams like the Eagles, Seahawks. You have the Rams. You also have even like the Cowboys that could push. The Saints. I don't know if I mentioned them. The Panthers. You have like all kinds of. You pretty much have 2 teams in each division that you could see going there. You know what I mean? So it'll be like interesting to see like who goes from the NFC. I really think like from the NFC, it's all about who's going to get hot. Like it'd be easy to put the Eagles in the Super Bowl, like now, but how are they going to play in like week 16, 17, what I mean? Like we'll see like what happens there. But I mean, if I were to guess a team, I'd have to go. It's hard for me to say, like I want to say the Rams, but it's so hard for me to put a team in a Super Bowl that like hasn't really been there and that hasn't had like a winning kind of thing. Like
what's NFC Championship?
NFC Championship.
Yeah. What's your prediction for that?
NFC Championship. I'll say Rams Eagles. That's what I'll go with there.
Rams Eagles.
How about yourself?
It's pretty cool because like last year they were picking 1 and 2. I mean, albeit they did trade up, but that's still pretty cool.
Yeah,
like, they're kind of like linked. I don't know.
I mean, they both did their thing and moved up to get a franchise quarterback, and like now look at them. The Eagles have 1 loss this year, and the Rams only have 2. So they gave up all kinds of draft investment, but when you get a franchise quarterback that like if it's boom or bust, I mean, if you get a franchise quarterback, it's great, but if you don't, then you're really putting your franchise in a bit of a hole. And you saw that like with the Redskins and with the Rams back when they traded up to get Sam Bradford. So
yeah, I know. So I guess my NFC Championship prediction, I guess, would be I'm going to go Saints versus Rams with the Saints winning. I just think the Saints are they're just on another level this season. Like Kamara, Ingram, like they can hurt you in so many different ways. Because I guarantee, you know, if the Saints just want to revert back to like their old ways for one game, they like just like passing for like 40 times a game, like they can do it and they can like have success doing that. Really hard to kind of game plan for, like if you're going up against the Saints. And I think the Rams, you know, as far as they go, like just great defensive play. Wade Phillips hasn't played right. Todd Gurley, Goff, like McVay, whole new culture, like that new blood. I really like where the Rams are going. I see Saints versus Rams.
Yeah, I mean it's like the NFC. I think it's going to be a lot more interesting, a lot more competitive than the than the AFC. The NFC is definitely like the strength. Like you're going to have at least like one mediocre team get into the playoffs from the AFC side. So, that's kind of like wraps up this video, kind of going through like seeing where like the NFL kind of stands right now, and just like doing kind of like some going over like what our preseason thoughts are, like what we kind of think now. But if you guys go subscribe to Jets Central's channel, on his channel we're actually going to put up. We made 2 videos at the time. We made one to talk about the playoffs. We made one to go over like NFL like awards, like who MVP is, who like Offensive Player of the Year kind of thing is. So we're going to do that on his channel. So definitely tune over there, check that out. And yeah, man, thanks for coming to join the channel.
Yeah, man, thanks for the invite. Had a blast doing it.
All right, y'all. But as you see at Jaguar and Jet Central, we out.